having surrendered to God and lived with and been guided by the great saints in the Himalayas, and he's also traveled the United States for 5 years on foot, similar to what the Peace Pilgrim did, and later in his small RV. And now he is asked to attend a desert oasis called the Divine Grace Ashram. This ashram is also simple. Its mission is the same as he's been given since he came back to the United States in 2013 and began a walking pilgrimage across the country. Peace is the mission, and peace is the prize. And it can be known peace is within and can be known without only when it is known within. So it's my pleasure to have the Swami speak to us today. Thank you.
Namaste. So beautiful. So, thank you, Grace. I don't suppose I chose anything. That's the only thing. The discussion this morning, we said pilgrimage home, journey to the heart. The heart is the center of our being. We're all journeying, we're all looking for something, and it turns out that we discover it's really who we are that we're looking for. This beautiful quote that you had shared this morning about, we find that what we are seeking is seeking us. And I'll let you in on a little secret, and that is that this home that we're looking for, we're already there. We're already there. The difficulty that we have is simply that we imagine that we're someplace else. And it's this, imagining that we're someplace else, imagining that we are this body or in this world or this place separate from spirit, separate from our loved ones, like this. And so the work that we do here really is related to this. In a way, it's not a positive thing. Of course, it's very positive, my God. But it's not an attainment of something. It's not an attainment of something. We've all heard of the Buddha, yes? So, the Buddha, after his 7 years under the Bodhi tree, walking down the road, glowing, absolutely glowing, someone met him and said, "Who are you? Are you a god? Are you from some other world, some other plane?" And he kept saying, "No, no, no." And finally, the Buddha said this. He just said, "I'm awake. I'm awake." He was asked, "What did you gain from that 7 years? What did you gain from that 7 years of meditation?" And he said, "Nothing, absolutely nothing. I'll just tell you what I lost. I lost fear, anger, hatred, greed, delusion," like this. So really what we're involved in here is an unveiling what's here as opposed to adding something. And yet it seems like we're adding something. We learned that there are two movements here. There are two directions going on at exactly the same time. There is the movement out and then the movement back. You've heard of the term yoga. I think everybody here has heard of the term yoga, yes, by now. How many have heard of boga? Anyone? Okay, come on, a few from the ashram know. Okay. Boga, the term boga means union with objects, with sense objects. Yoga means, who'd like to say? Yoga means union with? Spirit, with one's own highest self. If we can imagine for a moment our situation, it feels like we are separate. It feels like we're alone. It feels like we're incomplete. Who was it? Grace, I believe, this morning, who shared the meaning of the word perfect. And she asked from Latin if anyone knew Latin. And Hazel spoke up and said, yes, I took Latin for 4 years in school. And Grace said, I learned the meaning of the word perfect. It doesn't mean what we think it means. It doesn't mean that everything is in order. It means that it's whole, complete in this way. And yet, it seems as if we are incomplete. Does it? It seems as if we're incomplete. It seems as if we need something in order to be complete. And so we seek trying to find something to complete us. And so in truth, there's nothing wrong with anybody here that's seeking, because we find ourselves to be incomplete. It seems that we are incomplete. It feels that I need something. And my God, the list goes on forever, doesn't it? Each of us, we have our own list, but if we come together and compare our lists, let's see, we have money, power, getting away from it all. We have cars. Swami was poster child for that. We have women, men, husband, wife, partner. We have job. We have, oh my God, and then there are the politicians. And then the people who argue about the different religions. And each of us, when we look, we see, if we look at our common denominator, we find that everybody just wants to be happy. Everybody just wants to be loved. Yes? That's a common denominator. It's true for everyone. My God, even, the botanists in these days, science has discovered so much about this mystery of life. The botanists have discovered that the plants, the grass, the trees, all of these plants, that they're all also living, breathing, thinking beings. That they also communicate with each other. And the groves of trees, for example, are communicating with each other. And between the grass and the other plants and the trees, they're sharing, they're communicating, and they're sharing with each other what's required in order to support a healthy ecosystem. It's amazing, this life, it's amazing. And for what purpose? Happiness, wholeness, fullness. Everything here is a movement towards happiness. Every single thing. That's all anyone wants, is to be happy. And it seems as if we are not. It seems as if we need something in order to be happy. And this seeming, by the way, there's a Sanskrit word for this. How many have heard of Maya? A few. Maya. Also, by the way, a great power of the one, of the great divine. There's a feeling of being separate. A feeling of being incomplete. And yet, you know what we discover? The feeling is a false flag. We have in the news right now, false flag operation. Everybody's talking about like this. It's a false flag. the feeling is actually incorrect. It's a great mystery how it is. And yet we discover that peace that we seek outside is actually where? The joy that we seek outside is where? The fullness that we seek outside is here. God that we seek outside, here. The kingdom. And so many names for this home, this place of home. Jesus calls it the kingdom. And of course in the Buddhist tradition, we hear the term emptiness and nibbana, the being in the place, nibbana. Fullness. So there is this movement out and then the movement in. The movement out, this term boga, is when we're seeking what's really inside, outside. And we all go through this. And so honest to God, when we look through this world, if we can understand this point, if we can understand that we all go through it, and every one of us, depending upon our own identification, our own mental process, how this mind works, will each have a different idea of what it is that will complete. So one person says it's the teaching of Christ. Another person says it's this. Another person says it's money. Another person says it's a car. Another person says it's a partner. But if you ask why, and what I discovered in my life is I'd actually forgotten why I was interested in these things. One day I realized, wait a second, all I ever wanted was to be happy. I realized that I had forgotten that for so long. And so I was going through the motions. I had this success, that success. I hired this person. I fired this person. I won this contract. We established a new office somewhere in the world, whatever it was. See, it was the list that I had. I got a new car. I was motivated to get a new wife. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Thank God we stopped before that. So but the list, and the list was so active in the process of going after what was on the list, so exciting, and also disappointing, of course, in all of this, that I'd completely forgotten why it was that I was even doing something. Until one day, wait a second, all I wanted was to be happy, and what grace that was, because then I could evaluate, will this do it? And realize it didn't have a chance. This each of us experience as well, which is the movement from an outer focus to an inner focus. And it will happen naturally. It does happen naturally. Darwin was onto something with evolution. And this is really the evolution of each of us as soul. Somehow, as soul, we've gotten ourselves caught up here, or spirit, and imagining that this would do it or this would do it. And we experience, and we learn it doesn't. How many husbands, how many wives, how much money? For the one who has money, I can speak to this, because I would say it was never enough, but other people would look and say, oh my God, he has so much. He's so successful. But it was never enough. It's said in the Vedas that in pursuit of this path, the pleasant and avoidance of pain, the material, trying to find that happiness in the pleasures, it's said that even being king of the universe won't do it. Even being king of the universe. And yet we feel this pull towards more and more, or less and less. If I could just get away from everyone, if I could be free of all of the problems, if I could be free of the people that are making my life a horror, then I'd be fine. That's an idea too. It's the same. Pleasure, pain, they go together. So neither avoiding something nor bringing something to us fills us. And when we realize this, and by the way, this is what this boga is. You could say bogus too, I suppose. And so it's the movement out. And And this is where we say, oh my God, forgive everyone for everything that they do. Please, for God's sakes. Forgive everyone everything. Forgive yourself everything. Anything you've ever done simply came from love. You just had some artificial lines drawn around yourself, imagining I'm here and you're there. And self-love means I love this and you're not myself. But you see, we come to discover when we go inside that, but we are one. But we are one. We are the same spirit, manifest or expressing in countless forms in a perfect world, which is full and complete. Every single idea, every single belief, every single action, it's here. Every single one. That's what perfection looks like. We laughed and said, yeah, okay, it's a perfect world then, because it's full. It's full of everything. And by the way, if it's not full of something, just wait a little while. The word Brahman, which is the word for the highest in Sanskrit, actually translates to the infinite and ever expanding. So, and when we look out, this is what we see. We see a world that's full and getting bigger. You know, the universe, it continues to expand. We see in our own mind desires, when we start with one desire and then we fulfill it and that doesn't do it, and we go to a next. It's like the tree, the infinite tree, the tree of life. It expands out. Boga. Yoga is this turning around of the process, and this is the coming home. And this is what we honor. Honestly, we honor both. We honor both. We have to honor both. Because this is a natural flow of spirit as well. Spirit goes out and spirit comes in. Spirit is full. Spirit is complete. Spirit is who we are. And we're in this movement, this symphony, this orchestrated movement. And we go out and we come back within. And when we go out, it gets very scary, very fearsome place. There seems to be so much wrong. There seem to be so many bad people and so many terrible things happening. And fear rises and anger comes and hatred comes along and the intellect starts to get involved in judgment. But that's when we go out. When we start coming back within, we begin to find unity, love, peace, sanctity, holiness, sacred, and it's actually out as well. It's just that we've gotten so wrapped up we forgot. The great master, Swami Shivananda, he says that this human birth, this human experience, and let's face it, we hear it, but this is the truth. We are spirit having a human experience. Mm-hmm. People say, I'm just human, and I have to say very lovingly, I'm sorry, please forgive me, but you're not. You're not just anything. For God's sakes, you're spirit. You're one with the Creator. When Jesus says, I and the Father are one, he doesn't just mean him as a little self. He means the I and the Father are one. The I. Do you have an I? The I and the Father are one. And so Swami Shivananda talks about this human experience in this way. He says that in this human experience, in this human birth, we access will, dynamic will, thought, and action. They're called in Sanskrit Icha, Jnana, Kriya. Icha is will, a feeling, a longing. Can you relate to that? Do each of us have a longing? Either, by the way, we'll find ourselves to have a longing out or a longing in. Nothing wrong. But a longing. And that longing is born of the feeling of being separate. And then, have you ever noticed that it feels like you need something and you sit around and think about what you need? Have you ever had that happen? Huh? And so it starts in the heart, as it were, as a longing. born of this feeling of being separate. And then where does it go? Right up to this mind. So it moves from Icha to Jnana, the thinking, what do I need? And by the way, planning, plotting, how will I get it? And then what? Kriya, action. Action. I act in order to get it. I will grasp it. I will take it. I will pretend in order to get it. Whatever I do, and then I act. So in this human experience, that's what we have. When we're caught up in the boga, then everything's about little me, self-centered, and I'm out to get. You know, I came to get me some, and I'm now going to get what I deserve or what I need or such. Again, please forgive yourself. Please forgive everyone for this. It's just a movement of love, but it's love in the company of delusion. When we take ourselves to be this limited being, that's all. So forgive everyone, please, for God's sakes. This message, constant. Start with forgiving yourself and then forgive everyone else for everything. Because anything that we call bad is born of this. It's born of love in the company of delusion. That's it. That's it. And so in this place of feeling I am little, I am separate, I am this person, then we go after the things and the experiences in order to complete. But what will naturally happen? You know, we'll naturally discover it won't do it. Is it so? Yeah, and this is our evolution, and my goodness, every single person here is evolving. Oh my Lord, there's no one that's not evolving, because we can't help but learn. We learn through suffering, you know, but we learn. We learn and we move forward. And so anyone you don't like does something, they're learning. You know, let's help them learn. And what do we learn? We learn that those objects and those experiences, they don't do it after all. And we hit a depression. Every one of us hits a depression. My God, how many of us consider suicide? It's 100%, for goodness sakes. It's not just me, it's not just you. It's 100%. Everybody thinks about it at some point, and this is that tipping point where we're starting to recognize, I can't find it out there. Maybe I can't get it out there. And so, some point we'll ask, or we'll hear, a deep voice, resonant voice will come inside of us, and it was there all along, but we hadn't heard it. And it will say, seek ye within. And then you ask, can I have help to do it? And what happens? A peace center springs up. And lo and behold, help to do it. Yes? In yoga, we speak of 4 great yogas, which are really one. They're all having to do with this same, which is now it becomes practical. Okay, so how do I do it? We can't do it unless we're ready to do it. And being ready to do it will happen by itself. But once you have the urge, you can speed up the process. That's good news. You can really get there. Once that urge becomes strong and you fan the flames of that, I'm going to go inside now. I'm going to find the spirit inside. This resonates and I'm going to do it. So these urges, and these are the 4 paths as well. And these 4 paths, yoga is just a Sanskrit term. Every tradition has these same paths. The will, I will for something to complete, and now I will to come within, to God, to the kingdom, to myself, capital S self. And that's called emotion to devotion, bhakti yoga, which is when the will becomes to come into the unity of all, to unite with love, and to offer love. And this is the path of devotion. The thought, oh my God, so many thoughts, so 2 yogas for the thoughts. First yoga is the yoga of meditation called Raja Yoga, or Royal Path meditation. We practice meditation in all the traditions. We always have. Jesus, for goodness sakes, with his disciples, they were practicing meditation. The breath, he's talking about the breath of God. Yeah, focus on the breath. Recognize that the breath is God's breath. So if we go back, we're going to see an enlightened yoga instructor with his students. Yoga is just a Sanskrit term. So meditate. Meditate upon the spirit, which is at your own core, on the peace at your center. Meditate. So that path, which does what? It stills the mind. Be still and know that I am God. It stills the mind, and it allows us to see what's here. Next, jnana yoga, or gnosis in Greek. Study of who am I really. It's neti, which is I'm not this, I'm not that. In other words, it's not that hard to see that we're not the body. But we have to have eyes to see. And so we engage in spiritual practice to help us to actually look, and we allow ourselves to let go of all the notions that we've held, and we're just held back by our notions, by our beliefs, by our desires. There's nothing real that's holding us back. It's in a way our own selves, but don't beat yourself up. Recognize. So jnana yoga is the self-inquiry. Who am I? We start with the question of who am I? Who are you? I mean, intellectually, at some level, you know it already. I'm spirit. I'm not this body. You know, we can go deeper and we can actually see it to be the reality. And the light pervade, the intuitive sort of mental complexion does. And then finally, hands. What to do with the hands? What to do with the hands is to serve all. So we say, love all, serve all. So this is it. This is the way back. We're all on it. The encouraging part from here is simply that by taking resolve, deeper resolve, by recognizing it, by strengthening your commitment to your spiritual path, by taking it as a more important endeavor perhaps than we might have, by bringing it into every day, every moment, then we speed up the process. May we all find the home that is in the heart. May we all find the blessing that we are. May we all be a blessing for all here. God bless us, everyone. Thank you so much. Om Shanti. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Swami, and I'm hoping that you have enjoyed his talk as much as I have. And now it's really our time to sing our song, I Let the Love Wash Over Me.